There was once a young man who was born into a life that seemed to give him nothing but struggle, a life where poverty was normal, where survival was the daily challenge, and where opportunities were something other people talked about but he never saw with his own eyes. While other children had toys, celebrations, and comfort, he grew up in a home where every coin was counted, where meals were sometimes skipped, and where dreams seemed too heavy for a boy to carry. Yet inside his heart, he carried something more powerful than his circumstances. He carried hope, a fragile but burning belief that somehow, someway, his story could be different. As he grew older, that hope was tested over and over again. At school, he was told he wasn't smart enough, he was laughed at when he failed tests, and he was often reminded that kids from his background never made it far. When he went to look for jobs, rejection followed him like a shadow. Employers didn't even look him in the eyes, they dismissed him before he had a chance to prove himself. Nights were the hardest, lying awake hungry, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was all life had to offer, wondering if success was a lie told by the lucky few. The world around him seemed to whisper one message: give up, accept your fate, this is your life. But deep inside, another voice spoke, quiet, steady, unshakable, and it told him, don't quit, not yet, not today. That voice kept him moving when everything else pushed him down. While others slept, he stayed awake, teaching himself skills with torn books and borrowed notes. While others mocked him, he practiced quietly, building strength no one else could see. And while life tried to break him, he held on, telling himself that if he could survive one more day, he could take one more step toward his dream. But the journey was long, and the road was merciless. He failed in businesses, lost what little money he had, and saw dreams crumble again and again. People laughed at him, saying he was wasting his time. Friends turned away, saying he would never succeed. Even family began to lose faith, telling him to stop chasing illusions and accept a small, ordinary life. Some nights, he broke down in tears, asking himself if they were right, asking himself if he was foolish to keep trying. But every time he reached the edge of giving up, he remembered why he started. He remembered the promise he made to himself that he would not leave this world without fighting for his dream. So he stood up, wiped his tears, and tried again. One day, he took a job no one wanted, long hours under the sun, with little pay and no respect. Most people hated that work, but he treated it as training. Every hour, every struggle, every insult became fuel for his determination. He saved small amounts, barely enough to survive, but enough to keep moving. He used his free time to learn new skills, watching others, studying quietly, preparing himself for opportunities that hadn't yet arrived. And slowly, things began to shift. His work ethic was noticed. His knowledge grew. His failures turned into lessons. Each rejection gave him resilience. And although progress was slow, it was steady. His small steps began to compound, and one day, he found himself standing at the doorway of something bigger, a chance, a break, a moment he had waited for all his life. He started a small business, and though it failed at first, he didn't stop. He adjusted, he improved, he learned, and he tried again. Each time, he came back stronger. And eventually, that small business began to grow. People began to notice his persistence, his honesty, his unshakable will. What once looked impossible was slowly becoming real. The boy who once had nothing was now creating something with his own two hands. Years passed, and the man who once went to bed hungry was now feeding families. The boy who was once laughed at for dreaming was now admired for his vision. The same man who was told he would never succeed was now standing as living proof that success comes not from luck, but from perseverance. People looked at him with awe, saying, "You are so lucky." But only he knew the truth, that his luck was built from sleepless nights, from silent tears, from sacrifices nobody saw, from pain that nearly broke him, but never did. His rise from nothing was not a miracle, it was the result of never giving up. And his story carries a message for everyone who listens. No matter who you are, no matter where you start, no matter how broken you feel, you are not finished yet. Maybe you are struggling right now. Maybe you are facing rejection after rejection. Maybe you feel like life is unfair and you are invisible to the world. But hear this, your story is not over. The pain you feel today is shaping the strength you need tomorrow. The failures you face are teaching you the lessons that will one day carry you to success. And every step you take, even the smallest, even the slowest, is still progress. Don't quit now, because you never know if the next step will be the one that changes everything. Think about it, the man who rose from nothing had every reason to quit, and if he had, his story would have ended in silence, forgotten and ordinary. But because he kept going, because he refused to stop, his story became one of triumph. And yours can too. One day, the same people who doubt you will admire you. One day, the same doors that are closing in your face will open wide. One day, the same dream that feels impossible now will be your reality. All it takes is the courage to keep going, the strength to rise after every fall, and the faith to believe in yourself even when no one else does. So if you are tired, rest, but don't quit. If you are in pain, cry if you must, but don't give up. If the world tells you that you are nothing, smile and remind yourself that you are becoming something greater. Because just like that young man, you too can rise from nothing. And when your time comes, when you finally stand tall after all the struggles, you will look back not at the failures, not at the tears, not at the nights of doubt, but at the incredible journey that shaped you. And you will realize that every step, every obstacle, every moment of hardship was not the end of you, it was the beginning of who you were meant to be. And that person, the person who refused to quit, the person who turned nothing into everything, that person is you.